Good morning. My name is Harlan Pickett. Happy Monday to you. Going to get rolling this week with the kickstart in just a minute. Wait for that countdown, then away we go. Good morning. My name is Harlan Pickett. Happy Monday morning to you. It is July 29th, the final Monday of the month of July. If you thought it wasn't the end of July already, you're mistaken. We will wrap this month up on Wednesday. Hope you are ready for a strong second part of your year. Going to go ahead and get you caught up on what's going on, some of the big occurrences that happened last week that if you missed, you want to make sure that you know what's going on in your industry. It's always important to keep up with what is going on. One of the bigger things that has come up is a proposed Insurance Fraud Accountability Act. Now, this is in a direct response to some bad actors that actually were with some organizations out of Florida that were signing up people, changing them to the wrong plan, signing them up for a plan they didn't even know they had one. It had some pretty serious tax consequences on some individuals. Also, folks that lost their physician because their physician was in network, and then like I said, some bad actors switched them to a completely different plan. It was nothing more than a money grab by these rogue agents that were out there just signing people up to make money for themselves without a care about the individuals they were hurting. Well, last Wednesday, the Senate Finance Committee introduced legislation that targets health insurance agents who fraudulently enroll customers in Obamacare or Affordable Care Act, the marketplace. This just applies to the federal marketplace in this particular case, because that is where this was going on. So if it is actually enacted, if it goes through the whole process and gets approved and gets signed, then those found guilty could face both criminal and civil penalties ranging from $10,000 to $200,000. That, to me, I think that's pretty daggone fair that these folks would have to face something such as that because of what the implications are of what they're doing. Now, for those who think that, man, these folks must have taken a lot of extra steps to make this happen. No, they took almost no steps to make this happen. It is so easy, or was so easy, to switch somebody. I can see how this scheme, it was not very complicated to do. Really, all you had to have previously was someone's name, date of birth, and the state they were in, not a zip code, not anything, not an address, just a state that they were in. And you could look up their account and then change it to something else. I mean, it was very ridiculous. All the things that they make us do to verify, that we're following compliance and that we're doing all these things and keeping people's data safe. All the things that the government makes us do as far as compliance training, and then their website is that easy for someone to get in. Very basic information that's easy to get about somebody, and then you can change their plan. So this is still, that doesn't change the fact that these were bad people that were doing this. There certainly were bad actors and are not representative in any way, shape, or form as what a typical insurance agent is, an agent or broker. They're very much, I mean, obviously I'm in the business and I know a lot of them, and overall very, very good people and very much care about their clients. But let's be honest, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, there's going to be people that are bad actors. And in this case, the government, and it was the government, let's be honest here, made it too easy for them to make these changes. I'm sure it's happened for years and years, to be quite honest, until it was done in a great, really large scale by these organizations out of Florida. it really didn't make the impact. But I've heard it happen in the past to even clients that I had that were changed, and I certainly didn't make the changes to them, and I was no longer their agent of record, so I couldn't even help them. There's certainly been some other things put in place by the marketplace and other, not just some legislation. In other words, there's actually been some steps put in place now to make it more difficult for someone to change. So I applaud them for at least taking those actions, and we'll see kind of where it goes from here. We'll keep you up to date if there's any changes, and as this kind of moves along, to see if it actually has any impact in the future for real. All right. Well, we've been talking about this now for a few weeks, as the different ways that this was going through the court system and all of the different people that were fighting against it. And now the Department of Labor's new fiduciary rule has been put on hold indefinitely. It was set to go into effect September 23rd. It's now on hold. Texas federal judge granted the request by Insurance Agency Trade Association. This was one of many suits that had been filed against this. So really, we're kind of regardless at this point of what the other ones do. This has put the whole thing on hold. It's a temporary block that now they can't do anything else. So at this point in time, it's stopped until the court takes further action. So this particular case was the Federation of Americans for Consumer Choice versus the Department of Labor. And the reason why this is the actual comment from the judge, said the FACC, which is the Federation of American Consumer Choice, is likely to succeed on the merits of their claims because the new fiduciary rule conflicts with the Employee Retirement Income Security Act, that's ERISA, by redefining investment advice fiduciary. So what they're saying is the actual new rule redefined what investment advice fiduciary is, and they don't have the authority to do that. Okay, so that is the biggest part of this. So the preliminary injunction does stop it in its tracks until further action from the court. So once again, this doesn't mean it's gone. It just means that it is stopped at this point in time. And the opinion is that, and he stopped it because he feels like that this particular case has merit based on what they filed. Now, interestingly enough, some of the other folks that filed against this did not use the exact same basis to file this. So once again, we don't know what it's going to look like in the future, but for right now, the new fiduciary rule is on hold. That doesn't mean that if you were putting something in place to address this as an organization, that you should stop that right now. I would suggest until it is actually gone, like the old one was, that you continue with whatever process that you were doing to prepare your workforce to see this, to see whatever you have your agents or you have your folks working on, that you keep down that pathway until it is gone for good, because you never know. All right. So what is going to happen to all of those locations that Walmart closed down? So Walmart closed down 51 locations of their health centers in various different states across the country whenever they shut down Walmart Health. Well, 23 of those now have been leased by Humana's healthcare business, and they are going to open up some of their really senior focused organizations there. They're called CenterWell. It is their healthcare service business, and they're going to lease 23 locations across 4 states. Those states are Florida, Georgia, Missouri, and Texas. The centers will operate under the CenterWell Senior Primary Care and Convia Care Centers brand names. Now, if you are not familiar with these particular centers, because maybe where your location is, they have about 300 as of this last spring. They started with 65 about 3 years ago, so they're growing pretty steadily. It's not like a huge profit center for Humana, but unlike many of the other carriers in particular, or not necessarily carriers, but other organizations that have got into this, they're not losing money on it. It really accounted for less than 3% of their total revenue in the last quarter that ended March 31st, but it is not losing money. And with Humana's focus kind of on seniors, because they really have got out of the commercial business, they are focused on Medicare Advantage and any other government funded things, then this kind of makes sense in their business model to have their own centers for seniors. I mean, we saw United Healthcare do the same thing with WellMed here years ago. So it is very strategic for them in what they're doing. It makes perfect sense. I'm sure they chose this. I don't know the exact locations that they chose, but I'm sure that they chose the 23 out of the 51, looking at senior heavy areas where they certainly could make an impact in. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in those areas. And let's be honest, if it actually helps provide easier access to primary care for folks in those areas, because that was what Walmart's whole goal was to begin with, is access to primary care in more rural settings. If that's what happens in this case and they're able to do that, then yay, because that was one of the big things Walmart was after. Maybe Humana, just having the name with there. Once again, we know a lot of folks, particularly in some rural areas, will do their shopping and such at Walmart. Maybe it'll make it more convenient. Now, one of the things that I did note on this, and I thought this was important, and maybe it's not the case everywhere. I don't know the answer, but maybe the 23 selected had this reason, and that is they have a separate parking area and entrance. Therefore, you don't actually have to go in or through the store to get to the clinic itself. So that could also be a big part of that. You can actually think about that. If you had a couple and one of them need to have something done at the primary care, maybe the other one can go do shopping while that's happening as well. Convenience, right? Anyway, interesting idea. We'll see how it goes in the future. All right, not surprisingly, let's look at federal numbers on what they think the small group, or what they believe, what their numbers show is an increase in small group premiums. This is from 2023, of course. We don't have the 2024 numbers, but what they're showing is a 5.7% increase in small group premiums, right? Okay, I'm not exactly saying that that's wrong, but I think the numbers themselves, not just the increase, but the actual number, is what can be pretty shocking when you think about small group health benefits. $610. That's what they're saying the average is for a small group. At 5.7%, raised it to $610 for an individual coverage. Now, think about that real quickly. If someone's only covering, if a business can only afford to, this is the case for many small businesses, only can afford to cover 50%, or think of those businesses that cannot afford to even do that. Now, they're under 50, and maybe that number is just, there's just no way they can meet that. Now, there's also a huge disparity between states. I was pretty shocked at this. The numbers range from 378 in Utah. So not 610, but 378 in Utah, but also not 610, but 986 in West Virginia. So that's a huge gap from 378 to 378 in Utah to 986 in West Virginia. My goodness, what a huge difference that is. So can you imagine being in a state like Utah, where it's like, well, man, all these folks are able to offer benefits, and so you have a much better chance of keeping your employees, where you're in West Virginia, and all of a sudden, my gosh, how are we going to ever keep up with how much it costs to just keep our employees engaged, keep them here, provide them benefits? Wow, crazy numbers coming back from that. Now, don't forget, every single week, any of the stories that we have, or even something from a past story, if you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate during the show or even after the show to put those out there. We typically follow up with this show keeps running after it's over if you want to access it and watch it. If you're one of those and you have a question or comment about anything, the things that we talked about, please let us know. We'd love to talk to you and see how we can help you. A couple of things coming up. This Thursday, we have an extremely important show. The Why Does Healthcare Suck series continues. Our July show that just happens to be on August 1st because we had to make special accommodations for our incredible guest, Dr. Corinne Glover. She is absolutely awesome. I got to see her in person at the NABIP National Conference in Chicago here last month, and really, we had to get her. We had to get her on because she has such important information about women's health that needs to be shared. So many times the subject of women's health is just kind of swept under the rug. She has a great story of it herself when she was talking to her mom about stuff that was going on. I'm not going to steal her thunder. It was just crazy. It just really reinforced to her that even in family units, it's just something that's not talked about, but should be. So please, if you have an opportunity, break away 1 o'clock Central Time on Thursday, August 1st, later on this week, and listen in to Why Does Healthcare Suck, our show about women's health. I think that you'll really get some good information out of it. All right, folks, hope everyone has a super blessed week. Enjoy the final days of July. Get ready for the home stretch, folks. Boy, I'll tell you, the end of the year is coming. It's coming quick. It's going to be here before you know it. Got to get those quotes out. Got to get those quotes in. Got to get those people taken care of. Need help with any of that? Reach out to us. Love to talk to you. Love to help you. Everyone have a blessed week. We're out of here.